Belakangan saya sedang mengisi konten di TikTok. Jadi saya memiliki program bercerita tentang hal-hal gaib yang ada di daerah-daerah.
The Sacred Riana's AGT audition got 84 million views. But what cameras didn't show was darker. During her quarterfinals performance, the broadcast went completely black. Staff whispered about strange accidents and equipment failures around her. Some refused to enter rooms where she rehearsed. Then in 2023, her world shattered when the last person who called her by her real name died. She had a complete breakdown and vanished from public life. Her 2024 Harif comeback revealed the shocking truth about what fame had really cost her. Marie Antoinette Riana Grani, known to the world as the Sacred Riana, was born on July 13, 1992 in Jakarta, Indonesia. From the moment she opened her eyes, her life was anything but ordinary. Her father, Christian Yunarto, was no ordinary magician. He mastered psychological illusions. His magic wasn't about applause. It was about leaving people unsettled, questioning what was real. Brianna grew up watching him turn simple rooms into spaces where shadows seemed alive and silence felt heavy. Every day, reality and illusion blended together around her. Jakarta, with its deep traditions of mysticism and ghost stories, only fueled this strange world. By the time she first appeared on television, she had become a living ghost story. Her style was a haunting mix of Indonesian folklore, her father's dark art, and psychological illusion. In 2019, a horror film called The Sacred Riana Beginning imagined a fictional childhood that was as eerie as her real one. In that story, her family ran a funeral home in a small town. Her father built coffins. Her mother prepared bodies for burial. Every day, little Riana was surrounded by death. But she wasn't scared. The film showed her finding peace among the dead, as if she understood them better than the living. Then disaster struck. Her family fled to Jakarta. This loss of home, this uprooting added more darkness to her world. The funeral home with its quiet sorrow stayed inside her forever. On stage, you could see it in her unblinking stare and slow ritual-like movements. She became an artist who turned fear itself into magic. As a child, Riana rarely joined games or chatter. People called her unervingly observant. She would stand in corners, watching, thinking. She asked questions about life and death that left adults speechless. Ghost stories comforted her. Cemeteries and abandoned buildings drew her in. While other kids ran from shadows, she walked toward them. Her family saw it early. This wasn't just a phase. This was who she was. When Riana created her stage persona, she found inspiration in horror. Sadako, the ghost from the Japanese film Ringu, shaped her look, the long hair over her face, the white dress, the silent menace. But Riana added something new. She blended this horror with the magic of David Copperfield, Chris Angel, and Darren Brown. While they dazzled with wonder, she froze people with fear. Her movements weren't random. She trained for hours to perfect them. The sudden head twitch, the slow blink, the stiff puppet-like hands, even the bent leg stance that made her seem like a broken doll. Everything was planned. She stayed in character for hours, never speaking off stage, never letting the illusion break. The line between Riana the person and Riana the ghost began to blur. Her doll Ri became her closest companion. Dressed like Riana with a blank stare, the doll wasn't just part of the act. It was a piece of her. Riana once said, "Ri protects me." People debated what that meant. Some said the doll represented her lost childhood. Once when the doll was forgotten, she refused to perform until it was brought to her, even if it meant sending someone across Jakarta at midnight. The doll was her anchor in a world she had made terrifying. Even her voice was crafted to haunt, a soft, trembling whisper, neither fully childlike nor fully grown. She practiced for months to get it right. Every word she spoke on stage carried weight. The sound of it alone made people shiver. But perhaps the most chilling part of her story was how she erased her old self. She wiped her social media clean. No photos, no posts, no trace of Marie Antoinette Riana Grani remained. Friends were shocked. But to Riana, it was necessary. The Sacred Riana had to be real, not just a character. For years, people didn't know if she was flesh or phantom. This erasure sealed her legend. It cost her a part of herself, but it made her unforgettable. On November 17, 2013, something unforgettable happened on Indonesian television. A young woman named Marie Antoinette Riana Grani stepped onto the stage of a magic competition called The Next Mentalist. People would soon know her as the Sacred Riana. With long messy hair hiding her face, one bent leg, and a doll named Riani always in her arms, she looked like she had walked out of a nightmare. Millions of viewers watched in shock as she performed, never speaking, barely moving, and always keeping that strange ghostly look. Nobody expected much from her at first, but she proved everyone wrong. She finished as the runner-up. It was incredible for someone so new and with such a strange style. Her silent, creepy act got people talking. Was she just a magician, or was there something truly supernatural about her? By the end of the show, Riana had sparked a wave of fascination. Her videos would later be watched over 70 million times online. But behind the scenes, things were not easy for her. After that first big appearance, many people in the entertainment world didn't want anything to do with her. Producers said her act was too scary for families. Some TV networks refused to show her at all. They were worried parents and religious groups would complain. At least 5 major shows dropped her or asked her to change what she did. They wanted her to be less frightening. They asked her to stop being so silent. They even told her to soften her makeup. Riana felt trapped. It seemed like her career might end before it really started. But instead of giving up, she kept going. The more they rejected her, the more determined she became. Slowly, she won over the same people who once doubted her. Riana's biggest strength was also what made her life so hard. She refused to ever break character. Not on stage, not in interviews, not even backstage. She always acted like the Sacred Riana. Even when cameras were off, she whispered instead of talking. She wouldn't look people in the eye. She kept that strange twitching. This made it hard for people to work with her. Some directors had to write notes because she wouldn't answer them directly. Some interviewers gave up because she'd only give one-word answers or stay silent. Even her team said it felt like she became the Sacred Riana all the time, as if Marie had disappeared. She removed her real identity from social media and public life, trying to keep the mystery alive. From 2013 to 2016, Riana's life was far from glamorous. Even as her name became known, she was struggling with money. She often performed at small parties or local shows for very little pay. Keeping up her look cost a lot. Her costumes, makeup, and props needed constant care. Sometimes she had to choose between spending money on her act or paying for basic things. Her family helped when she had no work. But there were months when she made almost nothing. The magic scene in Indonesia didn't offer much money, and she wouldn't change her act just to get better jobs. She believed staying true to herself would pay off one day. As time went on, her life grew lonelier. The lines between Marie and the Sacred Riana faded. She stopped going to family events. She barely spoke outside of her shows. Even her closest friends felt like she had become a ghost. They said it was like trying to reach someone who wasn't really there anymore. Riana had given everything to her character. The Sacred Riana's 2017 audition on Asia's Got Talent shocked everyone. It aired in late 2017 and spread like wildfire. She appeared as a silent, twitchy girl. Her hair covered most of her face. She held a haunted doll that added to the fear. The act started with complete silence. Every move she made was slow and creepy. The judges and the audience couldn't look away. She performed strange illusions. One was a card trick that seemed to move on its own. The scariest part came at the end. A photo showed her standing next to Judge Angan, but Angan didn't remember her being there. Angan looked terrified. She even moved back in fear. Within weeks, over 70 million people watched the audition on Facebook and YouTube. It became one of the most watched Got Talent auditions ever. Viewers called it the scariest act in the show's history. Clips of Angan's real fear spread everywhere. People all over the world were fascinated by Riana's mix of horror and magic. Going into the grand finale on December 14, 2017, she wasn't the favorite. Everyone thought DMX Convalinos, a Filipino dance crew, would win. They had impressed the judges and fans with their energy and skill. Even judges like Jay Park and David Foster seemed to want the Filipino team to win. But then something no one expected happened. The Sacred Riana won. It was all thanks to public votes. She took home the grand prize of $100,000. She made history as the first horror act to win a major international talent show. Fans had come together to support her. 3 Filipino acts were in the finale. A win for the Philippines seemed certain, but Riana's victory changed what people thought a talent show winner could be. The audience had chosen something different and daring. What happened behind the scenes made the story even stranger. Riana's performances truly frightened the judges. Angan was the most affected. Riana kept choosing her as the target. She performed spooky seances and tricks that felt too real. Angan's fear wasn't fake. She sometimes ran off stage or backed away. Later, she said she had nightmares after the show. The crew often joked that Angan needed comfort after each of Riana's acts. What made it scarier was that Riana never dropped her character. Even when the cameras weren't rolling, she stayed silent and eerie. Judges and crew felt uneasy long after the acts were over. Riana had created a type of fear that few could forget. The world noticed right away. Hours after she won, media around the globe shared her story. Her followers on social media jumped to the millions. People wanted to book her for shows in Asia, Europe, and the US. Event organizers couldn't wait to have her. She got invites for talk shows, big events, and offers to act in films and series. Her manager said she stayed in character everywhere she went. She didn't want to disappoint fans who expected the creepy girl they saw on TV. The demand was so high that she performed non-stop for months. She visited places she had never been. Her mix of horror and magic touched people everywhere. One of the most chilling moments in America's Got Talent history happened during Sacred Riana's audition on season 13. It was so intense that over 84 million people have watched it online. Sacred Riana walked onto the stage with her eerie look. She twitched, stayed silent, and clutched her creepy doll. The room felt heavy as she approached the judges' table. All eyes were on Melb. First, Riana showed a newspaper clipping about a deadly fire. Then, she asked Melb to pick out a murderer from a group of victim photos. After Melb pointed to one, Riana took a Polaroid photo of her. When the picture developed, Melby froze. In the photo behind her stood a ghostly figure, Bob the so-called murderer. It looked like he was watching her from another world. The audience gasped. Melby shouted in shock. The image spread like wildfire online. People argued over whether it was a camera trick or something darker. Riana's still face and Melby's visible fear made this act one of the scariest ever seen on primetime TV. What made it even more unforgettable was Simon Cowell's reaction. Simon, who rarely shows fear, slammed his red buzzer during Riana's act. But it wasn't because he hated it. His face showed pure panic. The act kept building. The Polaroid, the silence, the tension. Simon's buzzer blast startled everyone. Melby cried out, asking why he did it. The crowd was shocked. The other judges were shaken, too. It's rare for a judge to buzz because they're scared, not bored. The clip went viral with fans picking apart Simon's every move, trying to figure out if he truly thought something supernatural was happening. This only added to Riana's eerie legend. Things got stranger during her quarterfinals performance on August 21, 2018. This time, Riana used voodoo dolls and ghostly doubles. Melby was at the center of it all. The act built up until suddenly the TV broadcast went black, right in the middle of a scream. Viewers at home stared at their screens in confusion. Then came the commercials. When the show returned, Riana was gone. The judges gave odd, vague comments. No one explained the blackout. Social media exploded. Was it a tech problem? Censorship or something far creepier? Days later, the truth came out. The blackout was planned by producers to stir up buzz and make the act feel even more terrifying. It worked. The moment became the most talked about part of the season. Fans couldn't stop wondering what was real and what was staged. Behind the scenes, Sacred Riana's presence caused even more unease. Crew members found her so creepy that some refused to be alone with her during rehearsals. She stayed in character at all times. She never spoke. She kept up her eerie, twitchy behavior even when cameras were off. People whispered about strange chills and weird malfunctions when she was around. Lights flickered. Equipment failed. Some staff members flat out refused to enter the rehearsal space if she was inside. Even seasoned AGT pros admitted that Riana got under their skin like no one else ever had. This backstage fear only made her legend bigger, but in the end, it wasn't enough. On August 27, 2018, Sacred Riana was eliminated in the quarterfinals. She didn't get enough votes. She lost out to acts like Duo Transcend. Fans were stunned. Many saw it as a blow to the show itself. Insiders said Riana was heartbroken and disillusioned. She felt misunderstood by audiences who weren't ready for her style of horror magic. On March 14, 2019, the Sacred Riana stepped from the world stage onto the big screen. This wasn't just another horror film. It was the first time someone from America's Got Talent starred in their own movie, The Sacred Riana. Beginning told the eerie story of her childhood. Riana's family ran a funeral home in a small town. When disaster struck, they moved to Jakarta. There, Riana found a strange doll she named Riani. The doll became her only friend. She clung to it so tightly that she stopped going to school and avoided everyone. Strange things started happening. After her teacher visited, the events turned terrifying. Viewers were left wondering what was real and what was just in Riana's mind. The film first played in Indonesia. Later, it reached Malaysia and Singapore. The movie made Riana not just a local star, but a regional horror icon. In 2022, on July 28, The Sacred Riana 2, Bloody Mary, arrived. This time, the fear ran deeper. The story showed Riana's desperate attempt to find her lost doll inside a haunted girls' dormitory. The film was shot at the Vanderwijk Fortress in central Java, a place with its own ghost stories. The special effects were more advanced. The horror felt more real. But the most chilling part was how much the role affected Riana herself. She stayed in character all the time on and off set. The cast and crew worried about her. They feared the role was changing her in ways that might last forever. The film was a huge success. Fans packed theaters and left truly shaken by her performance. After these films, Riana took on a new challenge. From December 2019 to March 2020, she became a judge on The Great Magician Show. But she didn't change her spooky ways. She judged with the same blank stare and slow, stiff movements that made her famous. She spoke very little, using small gestures instead. Contestants felt honored, but also frightened. They didn't know what her silence meant. Viewers loved it. The show's ratings went up. People tuned in just to see what she might do next. Riana didn't stop there. She started a podcast called Kisah Horror, The Sacred Riana, on Spotify. It became a hit. She shared creepy tales from her own life and the legends that inspired her. Fans said it felt like she was whispering ghost stories right into their ears. The podcast made people feel uneasy long after each episode ended. It was named one of Indonesia's top horror podcasts. In July 2023, Riana took her live show Conjuring Live to Kuala Lumpur. Over 2,500 people filled the plenary hall. She asked them to bring items that once belonged to their dead loved ones. She used these things in her illusions. The tickets priced from RM288 to RA688 sold out fast. In December, she brought the same act to Singapore's Star Theatre. Every seat was taken. The show took the audience on a 12-part journey through life after death. It was more than a performance. It left people questioning what they believed about the spirit world. But behind all the fame, Riana was struggling. By 2019, she couldn't tell where Sacred Riana ended. And Marie, her real self, began. Doctors called it dissociative identity tension. She lived every day as Sacred Riana. She stopped using her real name. She spoke about herself in the third person. Her family and friends grew worried. She was losing touch with who she really was. One doctor said she had worn her stage mask for so long it had become part of her. In August 2023, her world broke apart. Her grandfather died suddenly from a stroke. He was the last person who still called her Marie. He remembered her as a little girl who loved magic. His death hit her hard. She cancelled her shows for the rest of the year. She locked herself away in her apartment. Even her beloved doll couldn't comfort her anymore. She stopped speaking. She didn't want to perform. The loss tore down the thin wall between Sacred Riana and the girl she used to be. By October, she had a full breakdown. She stopped talking and barely moved. Her team got her help. She checked herself into a private wellness center in the countryside. Fans didn't know where she had gone. In the clinic, she sat in silence, holding her doll, staring at her reflection. She seemed lost, searching for the girl she once was. Her recovery was slow. The clinic helped her take off the costume and makeup for the first time in years. It was both sad and freeing. She used magic tricks in therapy to reconnect with the joy she once felt. In December, she smiled and cried after doing a simple card trick for another patient. By January 2024, she left the clinic stronger, but still unsure of who she really was. The Sacred Riana was already a global sensation. On August 31, 2019, she stepped onto the stage of Britain's Got Talent, The Champions. The world was watching. This was the same performer who had won Asia's Got Talent in 2017 and terrified millions on America's Got Talent in 2018. Online, her performances had been viewed more than 70 million times. People expected her eerie magic to once again leave judges speechless. But what happened shocked everyone. She was eliminated in the first round. Despite her fame and massive following, she failed to move forward. Fans were stunned. Critics were confused. The judges in the audience seemed unmoved. Maybe they had wanted something different, something new. That night marked the start of her decline on the global talent show stage. She had once been called the creepiest act in Got Talent history. But now, her early exit became a reminder of how quickly fame can fade. In January 2023, Riana tried to make a comeback. She returned to America's Got Talent, All Stars. Out of thousands, only 60 acts were invited back. That alone showed how much impact she had made. Her original audition in 2018 had over 84 million views. Simon Cowell himself had said she was unforgettable. But history repeated itself. She was eliminated in the first round. Howie Mandel admitted he was truly terrified during her act. But fear was not enough. The judges seemed to want more than just horror. The magic that once felt fresh now seemed familiar. Her elimination made it clear. The audience and the industry had moved on. Viral fame, as she learned again, does not last forever. In autumn 2022, Riana went to France. She competed in La France, an incredible talent. Season 17. This time she reached the semi-finals. It was a big win in a country known for tough judges. One judge, Marianne James, was left shocked. The French press praised her as a standout. In France, people were still drawn to her haunting illusions. They hadn't seen her as often. The mystery was still alive. It proved something important. What feels old in one place can still feel new in another. In September 2023, she appeared on Italy's Got Talent. This was the Disney Plus version aimed at a younger crowd. But things went badly. She didn't even pass the selection round. Her act, once so powerful, now seemed predictable. Italian viewers, familiar with her from social media, were not impressed. This was a painful moment. In a country that loves magic and drama, she failed to spark interest. The act that once made judges scream now felt routine. The world of entertainment had moved on. Then came her comeback. In February 2024, she returned to the stage in Australia. From February 2nd to 18th, she performed alone, the Sacred Riana, in Perth. It was her first time performing in Australia. All 11 shows sold out. Every ticket was gone within days. Fans, old and new, packed the enchanted ballroom. The tension in the room was so thick that some people left mid-show unable to handle it. This was more than just a comeback. It was a rebirth. Her social media came alive again. She shared behind-the-scenes moments and clips from the shows. The Perth run proved she could still control a room. She could still terrify an audience like no one else. But something had changed. Her show was no longer just about scaring people. It told a story, a personal one. Rihanna began to explore grief, loss, and fame through her illusions. She asked a chilling question. What happens when the ghost you fear is yourself? Her magic now mixed horror with deep emotion. She even used items brought by audience members in her acts. This made every show unique and personal. She showed parts of herself she had never shown before. This new direction shocked audiences. It also redefined what a magic show could be. For Rihanna, the stage had become more than work. It was her way to survive. In interviews, she hinted that performing helped her feel human again. The 2024 shows felt raw and real. Beneath the horror, people saw her vulnerability. Every act was like an emotional release. She forced herself and the audience to face uncomfortable truths. Her shows became a space where fear and healing came together. For those who saw her live, it was more than entertainment. It was proof of the power of art to heal and the strength of the human spirit.